Welcome to Gaia's Love, a podcast to guide you home into your human journey here on Earth. My name is Vivian Gerard, and it is my delight to co-create with Gaia and share our messages from Source in this now moment. Here we go. Episode 482. It is Thursday here in Cincinnati. It is a beautiful summer sunny day. We are deep in the sign of Cancer, in a new moon in Cancer energy that continues to ripple out with a lot of conversation, at least in my world, in my time over here. We are spending a lot of time talking about family, lineage, community, home, safety, all of these themes that are so prevalent when we are in the Cancer season. Last night, I hosted a really powerful conversation in Insight Timer. It was a Live with Vivi event, and the title was Family Contracts. And we had a beautiful exploration about why we choose the family members that we do from the perspective of the soul, and what each of those family members are here to teach us, why the contracts are so complex, and really how we can look at it from our own lens and learn, grow, evolve as the soul here in the human form. From that energy last night, I am flowing into a day filled with preparation here because we leave in a few hours for my sister's. And we're going to be staying there for a family reunion this weekend with all of my immediate siblings, nieces, nephews, and my parents. So this whole family lineage thing is really alive. And the title for today's podcast is Family Time. I went through lots of other options, but family time felt appropriate. So I'm going to ramble through all the thoughts and trust that we all have family members, we all have family time, and what I share will spark some new aha for you, or will soften perhaps some of the bumpy edges that you may be experiencing within your family. New perspectives offer us that sort of smoothing out of some of the dynamics when we can look at it from a different viewpoint. So one of the things I've noticed is it doesn't really matter how conscious, how aware, awake, evolved you are in your evolution of a journey here in this human life. Like, you may be the calmest Buddhist Zen monk, and put you back in your family of origin, your stuff's going to come up. It just does. You may be the most famous celebrity or billionaire, and put you back with your parents and your siblings, you revert back to the dynamics that you are familiar with from when you grew up. It's just how it works. It's a way to humble us, and it's also a way to kind of normalize, that's not the right word, equalize, if that's even a word, the differences in levels of success and fame, perhaps, and advancement in your consciousness journey. It's a way to bring us back to the roots, back to the basic. Just spend some time, with the people that you grew up with, and you'll notice the patterns. You'll notice the ways where you get triggered. You'll feel all the feelings that perhaps you can not feel and avoid when you're in your very successful life. And so I find family time, it has been some of my greatest teachings in my life. The family that I grew up in, and then also the family that I've raised with my own children. Those are the places where, oh my gosh, like, I learn so much. I learned so much. And I feel like, and perhaps it's just this year, but it just feels really pronounced, emphasized this year. I feel like it's there's the potential right now for us to really heal in a deep way the stories or the beliefs or the wounds that we've carried for maybe most of our lives, to really drop into a deeper healing and releasing than ever before. And there's a reason for that. I believe it's because of astrology and the collective consciousness energy carrying us into a different way of being human, a more accepting, more loving, kinder way of being human. And so the baggage that we've been carrying from our family lineage, that we hold, that we carry and hand to the next generation, and we've just been doing this for lifetimes, generations. I feel like that baggage can just start to be not even processed. That's not the right word. I don't even know that we have to understand it and then do all this healing work around it. I feel like there's an opportunity to just start to release the weight of it and to come into more presence with what is actually true right now. So I'm going to try and explain how this feels to me. There's stories that we all have, like I have in my upbringing and my family, that in my mind I've made very solid over the years. Like, this is the story of my childhood. This is the story of my teenage years. Here's where the wounds were created. Here's what my parents suffered through. Here's what my grandparents suffered through. Here's the beliefs they've handed me. We just sort of accept it, and then we hold it and we walk with it. And we don't always know that we're carrying that much weight of energy and belief with us until we have this awareness that, why? Like, why is that true? Why do I have to accept that or keep believing that? What if I just put that down for a while? And I'm not talking about the collective, everyone, the whole lineage of humanity. I'm talking about us individually doing it with our own family stories. Individually, if we're all doing it, a collective shift will happen. But it's about our own individual journey. And so if I can release the weight of what has been handed and just breathe into the spaciousness of not carrying it, just be here. Like, here I am in this moment, this 53-year-old wise woman who's learned a lot. And also, what if I just let all of that go and I'm just here, the soul in the human body, feeling all the things I'm feeling right in this moment, and choosing to step into this weekend with just excitement for the weekend. Presence in as many moments as possible, without allowing the stories from the past to be running in my mind the whole time to try to understand or decipher or predict. Just show up and be. Enjoy. What if we can actually embody just acceptance of the story as it is right now, and then create something new from that space? The astrology, I feel, underneath for us is, we've about finished, we're almost wrapped up with 15 years of Pluto being in Capricorn, which is breaking down the structures, breaking down the hierarchy, sorting through the belief systems that haven't quite served us. We've watched this happen in finance, in housing, in government, in politics. Things are being put down, destroyed, not destroyed isn't the right word, deconstructed, in order to build something that is new, is fresh, is from truth, is from alignment. Pluto in Aquarius is going to be, okay, so how do we honor the individual unique freedom of each one of us? How do we create from innovation and change and the future, bringing it into the now? Like, it's a whole different energy. And so Pluto is going to come into Aquarius and shake those things up, urge us to be more expressive of our individual freakness. Everyone keeps saying, fly your freak flag. Yes, like, be uniquely you. Be uniquely you. And so how can we be uniquely us if we're holding on to all the expectations and obligations and responsibility that everyone just hands over from one generation to the next? So I know I'm kind of meandering around this, but it's an interesting time, and I think it's filled with opportunity. And I believe the way to make change is to just begin, to just start, to try something new, see how it works. If it works well, let's do it and keep expanding and keep deepening. If it doesn't work well, we try something else that's new. So for many of us, family time has meant, okay, so I'm going to go be with my family, and they're going to say the thing that they always say that then's going to make me feel like I'm not understood and I'm not loved, and then I'll have this reaction, they'll have this reaction. This is the traditional story of Thanksgiving, right? You want to humble yourself, go home for Thanksgiving and revert back to your childhood. Why? Why do we have to do that? What if, and this is what happened last year, it was so much fun. My sister opened her home for the first time because they just moved to this new house on a lake. And she's like, why doesn't the whole family come and hang out on the lake, and we'll boat and swim and play and eat and have the best time? And we did. It was so much fun. And now we're going again. And we're so excited. And what if we just show up with no expectation? We're just like, I'm really curious. There will be 20 beautiful humans all in one house for a couple days, ready to just have fun and play and get to know each other. We haven't seen each other as often as perhaps we would like to as a family. And so here we have all of this time together, and let's just see what it becomes. We don't have to revert back to the dynamics, the energy that we played out when we were children or teenagers or 20-year-olds. We can just show up in the energy we're in now and co-create from that space. That redefines family time. It takes that whole idea of the heaviness of perhaps what many people associate that experience with and turns it into something light and easy. Now, maybe you're listening to this and you're like, I don't have any of that. We've had amazing family time from the moment I was born until now, and I love every aspect of my family, and like I can't wait to be with my family. If that's you, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, you wrote a beautiful contract with your family for this lifetime. That's amazing. For many of us, we didn't write the contract that way. As souls, we're like, put me into a family where I can stretch, I can grow, I can expand through the teachings that they're going to show to me, through the mirroring that we're going to do for each other. And often growth in the past has come from contrast, conflict, from pushing against. And in that pushing against, you find your strength, you find your voice, you find your truth. And so our family dynamics often push us, or at least they have in the past. And maybe that's what's shifting now, that we're moving into a time where your family is your cocoon and your safety and your home, and there's no conflict and there's no pushing against, and you thrive in that environment and you emerge like as this gorgeous human that's filled with light and compassion and beauty and change the world. Like, that would be a dream of how it could be. But for many generations, mine included, and going back, and I would imagine my children would say the same thing, family has been a teaching space through contrast, through resistance, through defining by seeing what we don't want to be. The other aspect to that I was talking about in the class last night is, we often choose souls that we have traveled with before in other lifetimes or other realms. And so there's some energy or story that perhaps we played out in the other lifetime that now in this lifetime we're coming back to play the other side, to complete the story or to rewrite the story, to change what happened before. One of the people last night said, what do you think about karma? Maybe we would call it karma. I just call it energy and stories that are, redefining, playing in new ways. So for many of us in this lifetime, our family now is filled with people that were souls we played with in other lifetimes. And so there's unfinished stuff that carries into this lifetime. And so that tangles up the dynamics of the family in this lifetime. And so we spend years working through that. We may never complete it. We may finish this lifetime, and then this lifetime needs to be cleaned up or cleared up in another lifetime, so we come back again. Or maybe this lifetime is where we clear all of it. It's so layered. And I believe our family is really the core of where we learn our biggest lessons, at least through childhood. And then when we have partners or we get married and we step into, those kinds of intimate relationships, it's another level of growth in our journey as souls in human bodies. But for now, I'm focusing on the earlier years. So for me, I'll give just a little of my story because you may see yourself in mine, or you may be like, oh yeah, I'm the contrast, the opposite of that. For me, I grew up, I'm a middle child, so my dad is American, my mom is South African, and my dad came over to South Africa and met my mom, had my brother, their son, who's a year and a half older than me, and they stayed in South Africa until I was 10 and a half. So they had my brother. A year and a half later, they had me, and then 4 years later, they had my sister. When we grew up, we were pretty close in proximity to my parents. Not at first, but as I got old enough to remember, we were in pretty close proximity to my grandparents and to my mom's sister. And she has 2 children, my 2 cousins. One is 3 months older than me, the other one is a couple years younger than me. And so the 5 of us hung out like a lot. We were over at my grandparents all the time. They had a swimming pool. We spent a lot of time immersed in the family. My mom had another sister who was much younger than her, and so we also spent time with her. So we were really immersed in that side of my mom's family and didn't see my dad's family growing up. And so I grew up in a sort of a cocoon, if you want to call it that, with a very small nuclear family and extended family that played and got in trouble. I grew up very tomboy. My brother and my cousin and then my brother would find all the neighborhood boys, and they were always getting into trouble. And I was always just tagging along, a year and a half later. Like, I just wanted to be like them, and I wanted to be strong and fit and play, and I loved getting muddy. But also I loved to read, and I loved to be in quiet, imaginative spaces, and it was fun to dress up and play with dolls. And so I really grew up with a very balanced masculine, feminine play in my life. I was thinking this morning, my mom used to make dresses for my sister and I, and they would match, and it drove me crazy. I'm an Aquarius, which back then I didn't know that. I just could feel, I want to be unique. I want to be different. I'm wearing the exact same clothes as my sister. Like, what are you doing to me? And she was also 4 years younger. And when you're the older sibling, which is how my brother felt about me, you don't want your little sibling tagging along. You want to be hanging with the bigger kids. And so there were just so many dynamics growing up. As an adult, and then we left that family, that nucleus, and came over to the United States, and we lived in a town 5 hours away from the closest family on my dad's side. And so we never really saw or spent time with my dad's family. Most of my cousins are a lot older. I was pretty close to some aunts and uncles, but not immersed in my dad's family. And so it was like we lost all of that connection when I was in middle school, and it never rebuilt. We didn't. My family on my mom's side, several of them eventually moved over, and so we would, stay in touch and see each other, but it's never been what it was when I was younger. And on my dad's side, it never became a very close-knit unit where, I feel the same way I felt about my mom's side. And so family to me has become smaller. It's become, my brother, my sister, my mom, my dad. And then the nieces and nephews, when they started arriving, they're just so cool. I have the coolest nieces and nephews. They're amazing. And when that started to happen, it was pretty quickly. Within a few years, all of them arrived. My brother got married first to his high school sweetheart, and then my sister got married. Actually, did she get married? I think I got married right before her, but we were just a couple months apart in our weddings, and then we ended up both getting divorced almost at the same time, years later. But we all had children very quickly, and so the cousins we call them that, the cousins are all within a very close age group, and we tried as much as we could to keep them together and have, even though we lived in different cities, and have them get to know each other and spend time together. And it's the greatest thing now. Like this weekend, they won't have seen each other in 6 months or a year, some of them, and they'll just drop right back in and be hanging out and teasing and laughing. And now all of their partners and husbands are with them, and it's just amazing to watch that happen. So, from the soul perspective, to bring it back to that, why would I choose the family members that I did? Why would I choose the structure that I did? I've spent a lot of time contemplating this in my meditations, in plant medicine ceremonies, in my healing work. Like, why? What am I meant to learn? And what am I meant to teach? Like, is there a gift I'm bringing to each of these people that I get to do life with? And it gets complicated. When we're talking about our family, it's a complicated unraveling that takes a lot of patience and compassion for ourselves, compassion for the ones around us, a lot of trust and faith that even if we don't have the answer now, there will be a day where, maybe not in this lifetime, maybe when it's complete, or maybe if you do meditation and energy work, you'll get the answers sooner before you have to die to get the answers. What if we could understand why and complete the painful part of the lessons and step into the beauty, step into the soul recognition of each other? So here's an example. My grandmother on my mom's side was a very strict, cold energy kind of person, meaning closed, reserved, held her cards close to her chest, wasn't especially affectionate, very creative artist, gardener, deep thinker, but not one to share a lot of that. And so when my mom grew up, she didn't have a lot of that nurturing and hugging and, mushiness. And so when she was raising us, I feel like she was trying really hard and doing her best. But even now she'll say, I spanked you too much and I didn't hug you enough, or I yelled too much, I wish I had listened more. I don't remember her as being cold. I remember her as just being busy. She was really busy when we were growing up. She had 3 kids and she was trying to run a house and do some side projects to make some extra money. Like, she was busy. And then when I had my children, I'm sure my children would say I was very busy, but I remember having a conscious decision of like, I want to be so affectionate. I love them. I feel all this love pouring out. I want to be able to show them that. And so I was very hands-on with my children and always hugging and telling them how amazing they were, and trying to be present with their emotions and give them space to talk about what's happening. And then, through a divorce, it was multiplied. It was even magnified more to be as present as I could in listening. And I know, regrets looking back, like, there's so much, I could have done so much better. I could have been more than I ever was. And yet, when we look at it from the contracts, there's so many ways we could take this conversation. So I keep coming back to, we're talking about the family contract. Why would I have chosen all of that? I believe the big soul perspective for me in my journey right now is this knowing that I'm completing the path of the soul that I have been through however many lifetimes I've been living. And so there's a wrapping up of the stories I've lived as a human, of bringing it all together as we move into Pluto and Aquarius, a really deep acceptance and completion of my soul's experience, so that when this lifetime is over, it feels like my soul then returns to source. I'm not coming back. I don't feel like I'm going to come back and do another life and have another story. It feels like this is the culminating capstone course in my soul's journey. And I feel really good about that. I feel really excited about it. And so there's a human integration of that process of completing, of that process of wrapping things up, of saying goodbye and starting the next chapter and claiming the next expansion, which as a soul, my next expansion would be returning to source. And so there's this way that the soul's work has been playing out in my human story as Vivian in this lifetime. And so that's why I would choose a family where I would have that cocoon for my first 10 years, and then we would complete that and step into, at that time, what was the independence of coming to America. Like, whoa, you're going to America. And then in my marriage, to complete the work that I was doing in my marriage and work through all the layers of unraveling and forgiving and accepting and growing up that I needed to do in order to step into the independence of what's the next expression for me. And then how do I hold the relationships through that? How do I stand in my truth and love everyone around me? And I feel like everything that I've learned through my divorce, that I've been practicing and applying in the last 10, 15 years as a grown adult woman, it's going to keep deepening and come full circle as I make my way into my 70s, 80s, whenever it's going to be that I complete this lifetime. And there will be a familiarity to it in my humanness that will make the departing of this lifetime be easier for me, smoother for me. I trust that makes sense. So it's a very complex contract that my soul wrote and created for this lifetime, because it's a very complex, culminating lifetime for my soul. And so there's a mirroring that's happening between the soul's experience and the human living it out. Like, makes me want to cry when I name that. Like, I can feel in my throat just how true those words are. And so I would call in family members who are going to strengthen my understanding of myself, who help me define my truth, who help me stand in my independence and my autonomy and my sovereignty, who push against me to make me stronger, who question me to help me define my truth. And so that's not a warm, cushy, gooey cocoon. That's a lot of resistance, a lot of me having to stand up and claim my space and claim what I know and express. And so that's been much of my journey with my family. A lot of love and a lot of work. A lot of work. I have a Capricorn mother and an Aquarius father as their sun, and sunrise, not rising, as their sun sign. And so there's been a lot of healing that has happened. I was doing a live yesterday with my friend Natasha Nicole Harris, and we were talking about the Akashic Records and why we write the contracts that we do, and the old earth and the new earth. And she said, I asked her to define old earth and new earth, and we both agreed that old earth is the old story, the old ways, the old known structures, the old known limitations and beliefs. And the new earth is just this continual shedding of all of that, this continual letting it go, another layer, until eventually we're just so, as she said, you're living the biggest life you came here to live. You're in your truth and your power and shining so brilliantly. Like, there's nothing that's held back. That's new earth. And I think that's maybe one of the best ways to describe family contracts, family time, as I'm feeling it right now. The old me has done a lot of healing, a lot of contemplation, a lot of questioning and sorting through, forgiving, naming things, even if I don't name them out loud to anybody else, like naming them for myself so that I can accept what has happened, accept what is, and release all of that. And this new earth feeling is, oh my gosh, I'm going this weekend into this beautiful home that my sister has prepared, all the food that she's so carefully selected and organized. She has an amazing spreadsheet with all the menu items for each day and who's going to be there for what meal. I mean, she's put so much love and care into this experience that we're all stepping into with her and her husband for the weekend. Like, she's so ready to have us all come play. And then I get to show up and just play and just be with her and laugh and talk about what's happening now and jobs and plans for the summer and the projects at the house, just to be present with who she is right now. And then my son, my son is going with us today, and my daughter and their partners and my husband, and we're all going to hopefully fit in one car and drive up and chat the whole way and have the best time. And then tomorrow my brother will arrive with his wife, their two daughters and their partners. Like, it's going to be jammed. And then my sister's sons and daughter are arriving with their partners, and my mom and dad are coming on Saturday morning. Like, it's just going to be one greeting, welcoming, celebration after another as everybody arrives. And yeah, it's going to be tight, and we're all going to have to squish, and we're going to have to share space. And, who knows? People will say things that might like make us go, oh, why would you say that? We might get embarrassed. We might have emotions. And also, what if we're just with each other? We're just present together, and the family lineage ties have brought us into this co-creative space, but we're letting go of the weight. We're letting go of the old earth, old story, old traumas, whatever they might be in your family, everyone's family. We have them. What if we just can let that go? I mean, just be with each other. I don't know, maybe some people call that gaslighting. I don't feel like it is in the way that I'm describing it. I feel like it's a true releasing. It's acknowledging how much has been. It's not avoiding it. It's saying, yes, it has been that. And I can make a choice for a whole new story to be written. And I show up and I'm present and I put in the time and the listening and the care and the love and the full attention into creating something new here, into building something that can sustain the next generations coming after us. What if all the cousins, if and when they decide to have children, they show up and the stories they're hearing about how much fun we had at the lake house and what it was like when we all gathered and were silly together and played and did all these things. And we don't have to hand over the traumas, the old stories, the old beliefs. We could create a whole new reality as a humanity. And it doesn't deny or negate or bypass the old stories or what was. It's a conscious choice, like all of that is true. And we can create something different. And it might be really messy in the process, and we may not be really good at it at first. And we may still get triggered, and we still have emotions, and we have moments where we just lose our shit and blah, all this stuff. And we breathe through it. And we come back to a conscious choice again. Like, okay, I'm here now. A soul in a human body on this planet, in the energy field of Gaia. What do I choose? How do I show up? How can I be of the greatest service and love in this moment? For me and for the future generations, how can I do that? How would love act, be, move in this moment? If I wasn't carrying all of the stories that are looping in my head, all of the baggage that I've brought with me from every other past story where it didn't go the way I wanted, or it did blah, 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 blah. What if I'm just fully here right now? And I breathe. And I choose to be love. It's worth a try. Because I know the old story. I know the old way we could play. I know the ways my mind would make up a whole thing, and then I'd come home and I'd be like, nobody listened, nobody understood, nobody blah, blah. No. What if I'm love and I just choose to be fully present? And I relax the muscles of my body. And I breathe. And I laugh. Even if I'm just laughing at myself for how silly I am, what if I just laugh? And then there's space again for something new to birth. It's a different approach, perhaps. It's a different way of being, and I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try it because it feels fun. And why not go have an incredible weekend with these beautiful people that are my family? How lucky am I? All right, I gotta go pack, and we're gonna somehow all fit into this car. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I am sure I will be posting some videos and pictures, but I'll be doing it on my home private account, not that it's a private account, on my family account, which is Vivian Gerard, and on Instagram, and my business account. I try to keep. I guess I want to name this too. I was going to start with this and I forgot. I believe when we are here to teach or guide or walk our path in a more public way, which I do, I share a lot of my stories and my understandings and my philosophies, and I believe that's what I'm here to do as a 5/1, as a double Aquarius. Like, I'm here to do this work and to lead. And so for me, it's been a dance, a fine line of sharing my life without automatically meaning I share the lives of all the other people who are in my life. That when I share my story, it's my story. It's not everyone else in my family's stories. And so there's, like Wayne Dyer talked about it. He said, I live a very private life, but I have a very public profile. And I feel that for myself. And I really want to protect the privacy of the people in my family who don't want public lives, who aren't interested in having their stories shared. And so I really try to walk that in a way where I err on the side of over caution, not over sharing. And I think I do pretty well. I don't know. I'm sure they will tell me if I don't, but I feel like I do that pretty well. And so I'll talk about these topics, but I'm not going to share all the stories that my brother or sister or my parents wouldn't share on their own publicly. So I feel like I did that well today. We'll see. But on Instagram, on my Infinite Embodiment in Gaia account, I shared a lot specifically about my husband and I when we took our trip. And he knew that, and he was part of that collaboration and was very happy to do that. But for my family, for my children and my grandchildren and my nieces and nephews, my sister, my brother, that I share on my personal account, which is Vivian Gerard. And even that is still to respect their privacy and what they would want me to have be shared. So there will be some stuff I'm sure I will be posting, probably from the boat and tubing, because those are just the hysterical moments that we can't stop laughing about. But I'll be sharing some of that. And so if you want to see, like, who is my brother? Who is my sister? And what do we look like now that we're all grown-ups? Maybe I'll take a picture from when we were little and post that. That would be kind of fun, too, just to bring some humor in. But anyway, I'll be doing all of that over on that account. So if you're not following me there, come over and play. New moon in Cancer, Cancer season. Oh, my gosh. So much. Next week, I think the energy starts to shift, so we will see. Right now, it still feels so intimate and deep and vulnerable. So I would love your reflections if you want to share. And there was a new moon in Cancer meditation that I made for Insight Timer. I didn't upload it until way too late. You need more time, like in advance, in order to get up in time for the actual date of the event. So it's up now, but it didn't get a lot of listens because it was so late. But if you are an Insight Timer, or if you're not and you want to go to Insight Timer, that new moon in Cancer meditation is available for you. I also created the tarot reading last week and an extended reading and a meditation there that you can purchase if you're interested in more. So if you want to dive in a little deeper, it's available. And if you want more of that perspective of the family contracts, Star's like, it's time to wrap up. If you want more of the family contracts, I recorded last night what I was sharing. I just haven't decided how I'm going to share that yet. If it'll be like a masterclass or just a recording on a web page, I'm not sure. But if you want to know more and it sparks something in you, post a comment in the comments or send me a message and let me know. And as I figure that out, I'll be sure to contact you and let you know. Okay. I'm going to go see what Star's up to. Have a beautiful weekend. I'll see you next week. Mwah. Thank you for tuning into this vibration of pure love. Let's take this message of Gaia's love out into all of our relationships and communities today. So much love from my heart to yours.